A new face of the South Summit football program looking to pick up right where they left off last fall. We talked to Michael Ruf about the upcoming football season. Also, an old face in the room, but a new face to the scoreboard. We talked to Parker Hayes about his excitement for this upcoming wrestling season. Well, Michael Ruf has spent years as an assistant coach over at South Summit, as well as a player for the Wildcats. And after an eventful summer full of coaching changes, Coach Ruf will lead the state semifinalists in a new season. Here is myself sitting down with the new head coach, Michael Ruf. Hey everyone, right now we are hanging out with head coach of South Summit football, Michael Ruf. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, you bet. I'm glad to be here.
We have a lot of questions. It's been a very eventful summer, and so I wanted to ask you first and foremost, how has this summer been for you personally?
For me personally, I've just been involved with the kids. I've been an assistant here with South Summit for a few years, and so even with some of the coaching carousel or changes that have happened, we've just kept moving forward as best we could with weights and on-field practice as much as we could to kind of keep the ship rolling the way it has been.
Yeah, I know that there was maybe 2, if not 3 coaches that were named head coach and then backed out. Can you explain a little bit more about what's been going on over in Camas?
Yeah, you bet. So after the opening came up, they put out a big search. They hired a guy out of Kansas. He was quite interested until he realized how expensive it would be to live here, and realized that he couldn't afford to buy a home in Camas or the surrounding areas. And so the next day he backed out. We hired another coach out of Providence Hall, Lance Burrell, great coach. Hired him, and he, same kind of thing, right? Couldn't afford to move up here, couldn't afford to drive back and forth with gas being as expensive as it is, and so he was just unable to keep going. He was excited, but just couldn't do that for his family. So then he stepped down, and the next day I was asked if I would be the new head coach. I had been an assistant, like I said, with him, and just kept going on with that, and so yeah. What else do you want to know?
Did you interview for the job at all? Like, were you looking to possibly become the head coach? Did you want it?
I wasn't. I didn't put in for the job initially. What had happened is with this, I guess, just kind of roundabout way that we got here, we couldn't take what we saw happening to the kids, right? As a coaching staff, as this core group of assistants from last year, together, we were a good group that worked really well together, right? And we couldn't take what was happening to these kids. They were the ones that were suffering through all of this, not knowing what was happening, not knowing where they were going to be, who their coach was going to be, what kind of offense they were going to run, whatever, right? And so I did say to the administration, look, if you just need somebody to step in and take over while we figure this all out, I gladly will do that, and we'll continue this program going. I'd been a head coach with the district in previous, at the swim level and different things. And so I kind of had that ability to step in and know what needed to be done administratively and then keep football rolling.
So you've coached as an assistant coach for football. You're also a coach for swim.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask you, what is your background in terms of playing? Did you play football at all, or have you just been a coach?
So I grew up in Camas, well, in Piola. So I went to South Summit High School my whole life. And loved it, played football there. I wasn't very big, so it was hard for me to be able to compete. I'm not a very big guy now, but I was really small. And so I couldn't outreach anybody, and I couldn't run anybody over. So I didn't get a ton of playing time, but I knew the plays, I knew what was happening. As I didn't play in college, I went in the Army, actually. I spent 10 years in the military. And then came back and have tried to be around coaching as much as I could since then. I love to coach. I love helping kids to reach their potential and figure out success, whatever that means to them.
What is it? I mean, you just mentioned the teaching the kids, helping them. What is it specifically that is your favorite part about coaching?
When you take a kid who is a little hesitant, doesn't realize that they could be as good as they could be, and then you help them to find that confidence in themselves, to then find success. And again, whatever success means, that doesn't necessarily mean always, being the star receiver or winning a state championship. Now, obviously, that's our goal, right? And that's what we want to do as a team. But finding each individual kid their success level that they can attain, and to see that excitement in them when they figure out that, man, I really can do this. Yeah. It's so rewarding.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about cross training. Mm-hmm. Athletes, do you want your athletes to strictly be playing football, or do you want them to be playing other sports if they so desire to?
I love them playing other sports. I think especially at the high school level, and especially in 2A high school, right? That's one of the benefits to being in a small school. You can participate in so many different things and have an ability to achieve success in all those different realms. I was a multi-sport athlete. I played some football, I swam, I played soccer. I think that's phenomenal. It teaches you so many different skills and so many different looks to find success that can translate to any of these other programs as well. Plus, we've got great coaches out there. I don't pretend to know all there is to know about coaching, right? I don't have all the answers to give these kids. I think we have great coaches that can give a lot of benefit to mental preparedness and all of that.
How are practices looking right now? Have you been practicing this summer? I know there's been so many crazy things happening, but you mentioned, wanting to make sure that these kids feel secure and that they have someone that they can look to in terms of a head coach. How much have these kids been practicing this summer, and do you think they're going to be ready for just a couple weeks from now? That's
a great question, and we've maintained pretty well our normal summer schedule. There's been little hiccups here or there, but we're absolutely ready. These kids are excited. We've got a couple more weeks that we're going to, really push them here before we get to that point. And there's some just little finishing touches, I guess, lack of a better word, to put on what we want to do and some of the changes that we want to make. But yeah, these kids are ready. They're excited. They're ready. They're prepared. Our conditioning has been hopefully better than we have in the past. That's one of those things that I hopefully have done a little better job of myself, I feel like, and so I'm excited. The kids are excited. They can't wait for 2 weeks. They just want to start now.
As for this team and everything that's been going on, how much you've seen so many different players over the years. You've seen so many different kids. I mean, you've been in Camas for a very long time as well. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about who are some of the players, maybe one player that people may know and one player that people may not know, that you are specifically looking forward to, who's looking really good in practice right now, who's showing their heart and things like that. Who are you most looking forward to? Maybe two players. You're
asking me to pick my favorites out of the team. I'm going to go back to practice when they see this, and they're going to be mad at me. We've got a whole bunch of players that are looking good. Kelby Thompson, really strong for us last year, right? He was really strong in the state as far as what he was able to do. So that's obviously going to be a big name for us this year and going forward. We've got some guys around him. I don't really want to give away all our secrets yet because I don't want guys preparing for them. But maybe somebody that maybe has stepped up this year that maybe people weren't expecting to. On our defensive line, Noah Gunderson. He's a junior this year. And we've got a great defensive line and guys that were playing that all last year that people have scouted and know about. He's a beast. Yeah. I think he's going to surprise some people.
Well, we cannot wait. It's Uinta first week, and then the following week we will be at North Summit following that game. We cannot wait to continue to cover this team. Coach, thank you so much for the time. Hey everyone, right now we are here with Parker Hayes, who is going to be a senior this next year for Wasatch Wrestling. And Parker, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
Hey, we've got a very exciting season ahead of us. A couple of big wrestlers left this past season, but there's a lot that are returning. You're going to be one of those
big names. How has this offseason been so far training with the team?
We've been just putting in the work. We've been nonstop going since season's ended, and then we had, I think, maybe a week break after season, but not much. We've all been putting in that work trying to chase that state title.
You know, this team is widely considered as one of the most special wrestling programs across the entire state. Is that something that you feel like you need to continue that reputation as the years go on?
Yeah, for sure. We've got such a good coaching program since we started, and I think we just owe it to them to do as best as we can to get that state title for them.
Where have you been this summer specifically?
We've been to Virginia, Florida, Las Vegas, and then a couple of the guys went out to North Dakota, but I couldn't because of a knee injury.
How did you do specifically in those matches?
Virginia, I did pretty good. I went 4-2 in the duel that I went to, and then Florida, I went I think it was 5-3, and then Vegas, it was bad. I went 0-2. It was bad. It was such a tough tournament, but we all wrestled pretty good out there.
Who were some of the competition out there in Vegas?
I don't even know who they were. They were just out of state, and they were just really good. It was bad. Ryder got pinned. That was a shock for all of us, but it was such a tough tournament.
Is it kind of nice to go to those tournaments, though, and realize, like, there are better people than us, so there's still more work to be done? Because, like, you think about Ryder, and you think to yourself, Ryder's unbeatable. No one's beating Ryder. But then you see him get pinned. Is it almost nice to know, like, there's other people out there that we're working towards getting better than?
Yeah, it's definitely a reality check and kind of humbles us so that we know we can still get better and keep working instead of just getting in like a limbo and just staying where we're at and not getting any better.
Before we turned on the cameras, you were talking to me a lot about the younger generation that's coming up. I was going to talk about the older generation, but I kind of want to talk about some of these freshmen that you're excited about.
Yeah, we got a couple freshmen. His brother's actually already in the program, Ben Kohler. If he goes the right way, he could be definitely a state title competitor. And then Dax Bonner, he came off of a leg injury last season, but he's definitely also another good one to look at the state championship.
So last year, you were third in the state at 120 pounds, right? Underneath Bridger Ricks, who ended up being a 4-time state champion, and then it was Jared Miller over at Park City. This year, you think you're going to go up one weight class, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm hoping I can get to 126, but if not, it'll be 32 for sure.
Okay. So at 126, I'm trying to think, that's Heath Clyde's old.
That's his old weight.
And so that being said, is there anyone in that division that you know of that might give you problems?
I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but the pacing kid that he wrestled in the finals, I've wrestled him twice. The first time I wrestled him, he beat me pretty bad, but the second time it was only like a 4-point match. But I definitely think now that I've worked towards it harder and gotten better, I could definitely get him this time.
Yeah. Have you talked to Heath at all about that weight class and anything like that? Have you stayed in contact with him?
I've talked to him a little bit. He definitely told me that after the last time I wrestled him was at LIT, and I was still at 26. And then around divisionals, I was talking to him about it, and he's like, yeah, you definitely could get him this time. Yeah. You've gotten a lot better, but I haven't really looked at the weights much, seeing who's where and what's what.
For the rest of the team, how have the Austin Kellys and the Ryder Robinsons, I know you mentioned Ryder earlier, but I'm sure he's been doing great this summer. How is the rest of the team looking?
Audie's wrestling pretty good. Ryder, after Virginia was out with a shoulder injury, he had surgery on his shoulder because he hurt it during season. But Audie's been wrestling really good. He All-Americaned out in Florida again, and then I think he did pretty good in Fargo. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to him after Fargo, but I heard he did pretty good out there.
How has the coaching staff, if at all, have they changed it at all? Are there any new additions to the team? I know this coaching staff is one of the best in the state.
With Coach Day coming in my freshman year, I think it's been a different change for everyone. I think it's for the better. Mm-hmm. And with Coach Knight, he joined this year. I think he'll be good for our team. More of a strength coach, but I think they'll both be good for this program in the future.
You did so well at the state tournament last year in a very tough division. What have you learned from that moment that you stepped off the mat and you were on that third place podium? What have you learned over just the last couple of months since you've been away from the sport?
Just don't stop working and you can get that first place. Yeah. Just keep putting in the work and you'll be good enough to get it.
How much time do you think you've spent in this room since the end of the school year, since the summer started?
Gosh, I don't even know. Couple hundred hours. We've been in here almost every day for 2 hours a day, and then morning workouts and getting ready for the tournament, all that. We've been here quite a bit.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about some of the people that left. I know specifically you were really close with Tristan O'Connor, who ended up placing at state as well. How much has he meant to you, and how much did he have an impact on your wrestling career?
He definitely, after my freshman year, was a big part of it. That's when we really started to become friends, was freshman year. And he's always just pushed me to just get better and better. Even when he took his year off, he's always pushed me, just been like, dude, you got it. You can do it. Just keep going.
Is it just been wrestling? It seems like I know you have other hobbies and other things that you like to do, but has it mainly just been wrestling these last couple of months?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you ever kind of get tired of it? Does it ever burn you out? Is there anything about wrestling that is mentally difficult for you?
There is a couple times where I don't want to be in the room and I just need a break, but you just got to keep pushing through. Like, everyone has those moments, but if you want to be the best, you got to put the work in. You can't just be like, I don't want to be here and not show up.
That's kind of one of the benefits of being here at a place like Wasatch. I think maybe at other schools, there's probably that option to kind of take a back seat because there's maybe 10, 15 people in the room. Here you've got like 70 kids in the room every day. And so you've got so many people that are relying on you. Do you feel like people rely on you in this room considering what you've done already and where you're going to go this next season?
Yeah, I think the team definitely counts on me in certain positions of duels and tournaments, getting points for the team, and then just my coaches counting on me, make sure I'm going to be there and show up and perform.
What is maybe one of the things that you're looking forward to this next season?
I'm looking forward to the state championship, obviously, but I'm also looking forward to getting back into the duels with the team and bus rides and just coming back together as one.
Do you feel like this team is better or worse than last year's?
I think we'll definitely be better with these incoming freshmen. And then the kids that stayed in it through the off season, they've also gotten tons better. So we're definitely better than last year.
How much better has an Austin Kelly or a Ryder Robinson gotten?
Ryder's gotten a lot better since his freshman year. And Audie's been consistently just getting better. He's always putting in the work. He's always working out, always wrestling, always doing something.
Has anyone else on the team had maybe a significant weight gain or anything like that, put on a lot more muscle, is going to be competing at a much different weight class than they might have last year?
I think Miles Kohler, he did about the same thing I did, and he's gonna be a weight above me though. I think he'll wrestle 38, but he wrestled at 20 this year, but he put on quite a bit of weight.
Obviously the state championship is a big part, but what would you say is your biggest goal this year? Outside of the state tournament and the state championship.
I want to go out to Virginia and All-American. That would be my biggest goal after state championship, and then also to just not get pinned and don't lose.
I saw a little bit that you also have competed in some Greco-Roman this summer. How has that been like?
That's new for me. I did it once my freshman year, and I did not like it, so I just stayed away. But then my dad convinced me to do it at this one tournament. Ended up doing really good, so I've been doing it since in the smaller, more not as competitive tournaments. Still pretty competitive, but not like Fargo or anything like that.
Did your dad have a big impact on you in terms of your wrestling and you wanting to start wrestling?
Oh, yeah. When I started, it was my mom. But then after I got into high school, my dad really started to get involved a lot. Kept pushing me, put me on a workout program, diet program. And he's been a big part of my wrestling career.
Are you going to try to wrestle in college?
Yes, I am. I'm thinking, I don't know where yet. I've been talking to a couple of colleges, but I do want to wrestle in college.
Who is maybe one of your biggest rivals in terms of other schools? I know Payson's good. I'm trying to think of some others off the top of my head that are in 5A, but I know Payson is one of the best teams in the state. Who are some of your biggest competitors this upcoming year, considering people leaving, coming in, things like that?
Payson, and then I'd say Uinta, and then I'm not entirely sure about that other teams. I don't really pay attention to who's in. I just wrestle.
For you, I know you mentioned it a little bit, but in pure confidence, how confident are you that this team will take back the state title this next year?
I think this year, if everyone keeps their head in it and puts in the work and just doesn't get distracted or super nervous and doesn't get too confident, I think we can take the title.
How much of a mental game is wrestling to you? I know you've done it so many times. At this point in your career, you've had hundreds, if not thousands, of matches, and so it's not as scary to you. But how much of a mental drain is it at times?
It's a big a lot of the sport is mental. It's you versus the other person. You don't have your team to count on you to back you up if you make a mistake. It's all you, and it's always nervous that first match stepping out there, not knowing what's going to happen. But it's definitely really mentally draining, especially after a hard loss. It's super mental.
I know you've spent a lot of time wrestling this summer, but are you excited to get back in the fall, start getting ready for the season, and then come November time, it's your time to shine?
Yeah, I am. I'm definitely excited to get back in this room again. I've had a couple weeks off, and I'm excited to get back in here.
Well, Parker, we really appreciate the time. Thank you so much for talking, and we look forward to covering you the rest of the season.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the Scoreboard. On Friday, we continue to gear up for football season as we talk to Chris Cook about what he's looking forward to in his final season at Wasatch High School.
Things I've learned, especially you got to put in the work. I mean, I was going out of my freshman year, and we had Coach Sanford here at the time. He said, you put on some pounds and you have a really good shot with starting running back, because we had Zach Thacker, who was at the time leaving. And so I was like, all right. So I put on 30 pounds from 150 to about 180, and then it wasn't necessarily good weight, but I mean, you got to put on the weight. And so ended up doing that, and then I just wanted more. Every year I'm just in the gym, and then I ended up gaining 10 more pounds this last year. But I just work hard, do your best. I mean, the speed of the game slows down for me, especially, going freshman to varsity as a sophomore, definitely super quick. That was the biggest thing. But now it's just normal to me now.
For everyone at the Scoreboard, I am Greco-Roman, and we will see you all on Friday.